All right, let me know when we're live, guys.
It's live now.
All right, awesome. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. Bruce, you good?
I am good.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our weekly hot seat chat. How's everybody doing?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good.
Good,
Doing
good.
groovy.
Hey, we got some honored co-hosts in the building on tonight, all the way from Duval County. My sister from another mother, First Lady Alice Muir, is in the building. Alice, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How's everyone out there?
We are so grateful to have you on the platform with us tonight. We truly appreciate you stepping in at the last minute. Thank you so much.
You're
Hour
welcome.
23, you showed up right on time. We appreciate the pastor for letting you join us tonight. Thank you. Then we have Bruce in the building, Bruce Almighty in the building, aka Batman. How you
Hey
doing, sir?
guys, I am well. Thank you for
Awesome.
having me.
Well, thanks for being on, sir. We appreciate you. Then we got the infamous Jason Thibodeau in the building, actor
Hmm.
extraordinaire.
Hey guys, how are y'all doing out there? Facebook land?
All right.
Jason, thanks for being on with us.
Hey, my
And
pleasure.
of
Thanks for
course we
having me.
have, and of course we have our honored co-host from Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio, Mr. Charles Dixon in the building again.
All
Mr.
right.
Dixon, thank you, sir,
Uh-huh.
for being faithful, sir, every
No
week
problem. No
and
problem.
on time. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everybody.
All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get started. Our topic tonight is on submission. Does it happen in a dating courtship phase or does it only happen in a marriage?
mm.
Yeah, so hot question, hot topic. Wanted to have you guys to come on tonight. Alice and I have an arsenal of questions for the fellas on tonight to get you guys to shed some light on this not so exciting topic, according to the grievous mail that I've gotten in my inbox, Mr. Dixon. I forgot to tell you about the beat ups I got about now submission is not in no dating, and why would I submit to somebody I'm not married to? And I was like, why I'm getting the hate mail? I just posed a question. Just posed a question, you know? Inquiring minds want to know. So, Mr. Dixon, we're going to start with you. We're going to do the definition first. Mr. Dixon, what
Uh-huh.
is your definition of submission, sir? Do share.
Oh man. Well, let me do a little bit of research here.
Uh-oh.
He about to Google it.
Yeah. So the concept of submission has long been a sticky subject in Christian circles. The term often conjures up pictures of housewife from the 50s, makes women everywhere twinge in discomfort. However, the term submit is shown throughout the Bible, difficult to ignore whether you want to or not. It's been skewed by culture to be derogatory and by some well meaning Christians to enforce the idea that women are the weaker gender and that to be godly women means to hide or to give up your opinions.
Mm,
What's happened, I think, is girls. This is a female author. Girls like me who've grown up surrounded by strong, outspoken women find it difficult to reconcile the polarized opinions. Fret not, ladies and gents. A quick study reveals biblical submission is much more than antiquated roles and gender bias. Instead, it's about mutual service, selflessness, and love, and ultimately attitudes that should mark any believer, male or female. Just a little bit.
Was
But
that
now,
was that your definition?
No, I was just giving some research. I'll give you. I don't want to just be talking off the top of my head, right? So for me, honestly, when I think of submission, this is a sticky topic. But
It is
okay,
a very sticky topic.
when I think of submission, I think of it from the perspective of um, it's very closely related to respect. Of course, so in that respect, you would respect your wife as you would want her to respect you. But the submission portion is her, you think of it as her recognizing you, if we're talking in the married sense, as the head of the household, and as the man, the lead, basically. But as you say, that's a little complicated to deal with today because, to be honest, it seems like in today's culture, a lot of women are in the lead position, which makes it difficult for them to look back and think of the word submission. So it's a sticky thing.
Mm.
But it means,
Bruce.
but in short, it's reverence to a degree.
In reference.
Yeah.
Got it. Bruce, your thoughts. Be sure.
My thoughts is that submission is something that we have been very confused about. I think we've been taught improperly. I think submission is a word that has been used to um, lessen the position or power that women have in relationships. Submission, in my definition, is just a mutual. Submission is just a yielding. When you think of the word sub, sub means under. Like a submarine is underwater, sub means under. Your mission is just like your goals or objectives. So like in my relationships, submission could be considered you just yielding to my goals.
Mm.
But for me, in my understanding, um, submission is just not something that a woman is supposed to do towards a man.
Mm-hmm.
In a relationship, the submission is supposed to be mutual.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a one-way thing. We're supposed to mutually submit one to another.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we get a proper understanding and a thorough teaching
Mm-hmm.
that's not ego-centered,
Mm-hmm.
it's not an ego-centered teaching that's teaching positions or gender roles. If we kind of stray away from that and get a proper, thorough vetting and understanding of what submission really is, that I think we can take the stigma out of it, and our relationships will get better.
Think so too.
And that
I would agree. Agree. I agree with both what you and Mr. Dixon said, as far as with submission, as far as it being a reverence or a respect, an honorable respect for your mate, and not just being one-sided. I think that's very, very valid points. Very valid. Mr. Thibodeau,
Yes,
holla at us.
ma'am.
Holla at us.
Submission, in my opinion, or my definition of submission, is basically to submit to compromise.
Mm.
Because, and the reason I say that is because every union should have compromise. It should not, like you said, and like Mr. Dixon said, like Mr. Bruce said, it should not be all one-sided.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thinks like the whole 1950s, do as I say, not as I do type of thing. And I mean, maybe that worked back in the day, or maybe that was the definition back in the day. But I think in the new age and what we have going on with the way that households are run and built up, that basically it's just about compromise.
Correct.
That's good. So we got compromise, we have respect, and then we have the mutual agreement on
Mm.
the leadership capacity as far as the following is concerned. Because I heard Mr. Dixon talk about a lot of women being in the role now, and so maybe the art of submission in totality has pretty much been kind of convoluted or lost in the translation over the course of
Right.
time. Yeah. Okay, so let's go on to our question. We have some questions for you guys. Alice,
Uh-oh.
would you do the honors of question number 1?
Question number 1. Are there levels of submission? You kind of already answered it in your definition, as far as meeting halfway, which I will agree, because of things that have changed, as far as time in the world today. So um, I agree with Bruce when he said sub underwater mission, a statement. So if you come to common ground and meet those goals together, you'll have goals together. So I think y'all kind of answered that, but if anyone want to elaborate on it, please feel free. So the question is of to submission.
If you don't mind, I'll go first. Yeah, actually, there are. Um, a lot of it, in my opinion, the levels would be based on where you are in your relationship. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So if you're new in a relationship, do I necessarily expect somebody to submit? Not really, but maybe just slightly or partially, and when I say submit from that standpoint, it's not submit to me. It's like we submit to each other. How much information are we going to share with each other? Where are we looking to go with this? Communication. Then it kind of gets to, of course, the love and the physical and everything else, and you submit yourself, your body, your soul, to that particular person, and they should do the same for you. And then, of course, good leading on until, union and everything else. And that's when you should definitely be working as a team,
Mhm.
in terms of submission. I mean, if you have a traditional raised family, male, female, or whatever the case may be, everybody has a slightly different ideal, but I think ultimately, we ultimately have the same goal, or should.
Mm, right.
Okay.
Mhm. Mr. Dixon, you want to share with us what you're thinking over there, sir?
Um, I think when you think of submission, again, it's hard to the thing that continues to come up, and that if I'm thinking along the lines of some women I've probably either heard through conversations or maybe even seen scenarios. It's an earned role, and it comes through respect. And just think about it. Some women will say, "Well, even though the scripture may say it, and this, that, and the other, they're going to say, what have you done to earn me to submit to you? Look at what
Mm,
you're doing. You're not holding the
True.
job. You're not doing this. You're not taking care of this household because submission is built off of the respect. If you
mhm,
have the respect, it's easier for you to submit. And when I may say submit, I'm not
Very
saying
true.
submerge and drown yourself, but
mhm,
just, and here's the other part of it. This is an important conversation you need to have with the person of interest or your wife, and you need to figure out how do they view respect? Because some people will think, they
Hmm.
don't want to hear anything about submission at all. So you need to know where they stand when it comes to that concept. Some people will hear and think, oh, what? This and this. This is a new day, and so already you heading down the wrong path if that's what you subscribing to as a man.
Hmm.
If that's what you're looking for, you're not going to get it. It's hard, and I can tell you now.
Exactly.
Nowadays, it's very hard to come across someone who even follows that script nowadays. Yeah,
mm,
yeah.
Very true.
mm. Bruce, any
Very true.
thoughts?
Um, Charles, can I be myself?
Yes, yes. Go ahead. You go ahead, sir.
Okay, okay. I first want to come on, very prim and proper and
Yeah.
all.
Go ahead.
But
Go
check
ahead.
this out, family. Family, check this out.
All right.
Submission means I want you to do what I tell you to do,
When I
Uh-oh.
want you to do it. Right.
Uh-oh.
and
Uh-oh.
and when I want you to
Uh-oh.
do it.
Right.
Now, see,
Uh-oh.
now I'm not talking about in a dictator, overbearing, disrespectful type of way.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
if I'm bringing a mission to you, I have an objective, I have a goal, I have a vision. I want to build a doghouse in the backyard.
Mhm.
Mm.
I need you to go to Home Depot and get me 5 gift cards. I don't want you to ask me what you're doing, why you're doing it, do it
My,
like this, why I can't go to
Mm.
Lowe's and get it, why I gotta go to home. I don't want to hear all that,
Hmm.
girl. Go
Just
get
go
me them
get it.
cards from Home Depot. Like I told you.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Now that's what goes
Yeah.
on in the inner man. Now, in the outer man, depending upon the man, of course, we may ask you, honey, can you go and get me a few gift cards from Home Depot? But in our inner man, we are telling you, girl, get over there and get me them cards. I got this thing to do. Come on, help me get this thing done, girl. May ask me a whole bunch of questions.
Right.
Typically,
Right.
and I'm being extreme,
It
of
is.
course, but typically, that's kind of, as men, that's kind of where we are with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're always submitting. We're submitting to somebody, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Y'all know we
already
submit
know.
to somebody.
Yeah. Right.
But as far as me and my house, we're not just serving the Lord. I want you to serve me when it comes to my vision and my mission.
Wow. Okay.
Mm.
Wow.
That's an extreme way of putting it, just for entertainment purposes.
Right.
I pretty much want you to do what I tell you to do.
Oh boy.
When I
Oh,
need you to do it, absolutely. Yep.
look. Well now.
Hey, that can of worms is open.
Charles,
It's open.
I forgot a very intricate component to this whole session. I didn't get up in prayer, and I.
Well, look, here's a quick nugget, and this is a good gauge for men to see if you are even capable of being submitted to. If you are with a
Mm-hmm.
woman, and if she has the ability, as us men say, oh, she can get wild out there. She just when she get upset, she go way to the left. If you're not able to redirect her, and when I mean redirect her, bring her to a calm, she's not going to submit to you. If you can't bring her to
Very
a
true.
calm and get her to and level out the conversation to get back to a peaceful resolve, you don't have nothing coming. Because she's letting you know, say what you want. I don't care what you say. And that will tear down the most of manliest and Bruce's of the men of the world. They're going to be like, oh, I can't deal with that. Because how can that work for me? You understand what I'm saying? If that's what you
Mm-hmm.
subscribe to, you're not going to be able to deal with that. Yeah. Because you're going to have a house that's going to be out of order. If you can't bring peace as the man to your house, it's going to be totally out of order. So,
Very true.
Wow. That's interesting because what you and Bruce both said is basically it's almost like it's a working environment where the lady in the relationship has agreed to work without a lot of questions or comments or necessarily feedback, but kind of adhering to the compass that's set before the relationship. Okay, with that in mind, what gives a man, I'm going back to what Mr. Dixon said earlier. Basically, what gives a man the right to require a woman to submit to him? What gives him that right?
Oh, that's a good one.
go ahead, Bruce.
Thank you. I thought of it myself. I thought pop the collar.
Yeah, that's a good one. See, it's kind of difficult to think of it as a right.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of based on my thinking, on my personal principles. It comes from the nature in which we are created.
Mm-hmm.
So the manufacturer says, hey, this is how this thing functions. Here's the manual. This is how this Toyota functions.
Mm-hmm.
So for me personally, when I look at the word, the scriptures, the Bible, and the God of the Bible inspired men to tell us how relationships function at the maximum efficiency. So for me, created in his image, even though we're a little off, but being created in God's image, we as men, we're like God. And God wants us to submit to him.
Men. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in that word, not to make it too religious, but in that word, the principle is that man is the glory of God and woman is the glory of man. So it's like the relationship that we have with God where he wants us to yield to his way of doing things. It's like the same reflection that we have towards the woman where we want her to yield to our way of doing things. It's kind of like it's natural, like it's ingrown in us. It's like that's how we were built. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Actually, it does. Because, and the reason why I say that definitely makes sense is because if, put it this way, okay, so we communicate, we have all of this technology, but at the end of the day, let's just be 100% honest with each other. We're animals. No different than a lion or anything else. We just, we have the ability to do more, create more, etc. If you look throughout any animal kingdom, you actually have the male at the household. And let's even talk about the lion. Let's talk about the lion because I know we got two strong women on this teleconference. The lion is the king of his household. Yes or no? Yes, right? However, if you really pay attention to any pride, the women set the tempo. Think about it. They go out and they hunt. The man protects them. But the women to go out and hunt, prepare a meal, do certain things around the pride and everything else, and they respect that man because that lion actually protects them. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, they could probably easily kill the king. They can kill the lion, but they respect him enough to where they follow his lead. If that makes any kind of sense in that analogy.
That's good.
Or example.
That's a good example.
So that follows, basically what he said. It's something that's inbred in all of us. And true enough, not everybody is raised the same, but if you really look throughout history, a lot of us are bred and raised, and it is instilled in us to lead and run our households.
Right.
Now, running should, of course, come with that respect as well, but to lead and run our household.
Right. And also to back up what you're saying, in its totality, to really for two people, not just the woman to understand what the man is trying to tell her, but for two people to understand submission in its full encompassing, you have to look at it through a spiritual lens. And so it's hard to try to get someone who doesn't subscribe to the spiritual side of it to understand it. And you can't fault them for it because we say, for instance, you may know some people that they were just good old fashioned, they were good people and they weren't religious, but the wife, she took care of the home and the husband went out and worked and it seemed like their family worked. But then you have other homes where it's just people look at you like you're crazy. You talk about submission and all these kind of things. But from the spiritual side of it, it's kind of hard to overlook if in fact the scriptures are correct in when saying he created man first, right? And from our rib he formed woman. So that would let you know he's showing a hierarchy in creation. He's saying you were here first. I created her from you. Even though, yes, when she's into her own being, women are amazing. You okay? But are we still subscribing as to where the woman was formed from or not? I think it comes down to people's thoughts about that. Because if we're going back to the basis, that's where it started from.
That's very true. That's very true.
And she was created to help the man.
Yeah.
Not to devalue her, because again, keep in mind, like I was saying earlier, we've been taught these things in such a dominant, overbearing fashion that we don't really appreciate the value of the original design. And the original design is she was created to help us.
Right.
To help fulfill whatever vision that a man has, that God has put into a man. But the problem is, we don't be having visions. We just be having relationship.
Wow. Right.
And
they can't subscribe to that. And they can't subscribe to that.
That's very. I'm glad one of y'all brought that up because I definitely didn't want to be the one to bring that up, but I definitely thought about that because you have to give her something to submit to. It's got to be you can't get in the car and not have a destination. I use the car analogy all the time. We all get in the car. Okay, whole family, let's get in the car. But we have no destination. The driver is the husband, and we get in the car. I'm like, babe, where are we going? And it just gives dead silence. What are we supposed to do with that? I think that's another reason why we have this disharmony and imbalance. Is because, like you said, people are having relationships, but nobody's steering the ship. And the ship has to
Yeah.
be,
There it is.
somebody
Yeah,
got to be the captain. Somebody got to be the captain.
very
Alex,
true.
So
you do
I
the
think it's going down in the comments.
It
So
is going down
here's
in the
one.
comments. It's
So
definitely going
I
down in
see
the comments.
one. So Katanya says the lioness also hunts and brings the food to the lion, protects him from attackers and other prey, and warns him of impeding attack. Now, then someone, Gracia said that's true. The lioness set the home, but they respect the lion. And now here's the other side of it. Janice says,
Mhm.
LOL, female lions also go from male to male to make sure she's producing the strongest litter. So that
Absolutely.
leads me to think, so are you
Mhm.
saying the respect is only going to the strongest litter? Or you just don't respect men, period, unless he's producing the strongest litter? Is that
No,
what you're
because
saying?
Wow.
lionesses do look for the strongest male to mate with. That's what
Right.
they look for, the strongest male to mate with. They want to have a strong litter because they want to reproduce more males. So in order
Right.
for them to have a strong litter, they gotta find a dominant male who is able to handle that. And dig this too. Some lions have more than one pride.
That's how I was
They
gonna
have
say.
multiple
Yeah.
He's
prides.
strong. He's
If
strong.
they,
He's strong in
the
your litter and the other one too.
Yeah, yeah. So
Right.
we gotta be aware of that too, because
Yeah.
sometimes in submission we gotta be wise enough to know that we're submitting to somebody who is submitted to the authority of our Creator.
Correct.
Because if he's
Right.
not submitted to the authority of our Creator, and he running around here doing whatever it is that he
Whatever.
does,
And whenever.
then we've
Yeah.
submitted to the wrong leadership and the wrong compass in the first
Mhm.
place. So we gotta have our own spirit of discernment, like the lioness, to discern if this man is even walking after the command of God in his authority, in his role, for us to be able to submit to him
Right.
as the man in the equation. So we got to have our own spirit of discernment and our own homing device to say, hey, is this man, is he walking after the principles and after the whole design of how God, is he conscious of who he is in his within his creator? Does he even know who he is?
Right.
So
Very
Alice,
I
true.
have a question.
oh, who has a
Can,
question?
can I ask
Please.
a question?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm walking with God. I have a clear understanding of my relationship with Him. You
Hmm.
know, I'm praying, I'm studying, I'm praying and I'm studying with you, Coffee.
Right.
You know, we're going to church
Mhm.
and everything. You know what I mean? You know, we doing it. We shaking and foaming at the mouth and flipping all around and stuff when they play the music. We getting our church on. A very calm, patient
Forward at the
man, and you're
mouth.
like, wow, this guy is he's he's um he's Christ-like. But I work at Walmart.
Hmm.
Mm. Mr.
I
Dixon,
work
we
at
said at the
Walmart.
same time.
I'm Christ-like, but I work at Walmart.
Uh-huh.
And you a GS 15. You $180,000 a year. And
Mm.
Wow.
I'm about $400 maybe
A week.
every
Oh,
2 weeks.
maybe a week. Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah.
So where does the fact that I'm walking with Christ, Lord have
Come into
mercy,
play.
where does the fact that now let's keep it real, y'all.
Let me let
Where
me
does the
let me
fact that I'm walking with Christ come in there?
let me give you a story on that. Let me give you a story on that. Just because a guy is not where he's intended to be does not mean he's not
Mhm.
headed into that direction and he doesn't have a vision for himself and his future. I'll give you a perfect
True.
example. My husband that passed away was that guy. When I met him, he was earning not even $30,000 a year. But I'm telling you, when I tell you that man knew where he was headed and he was going in that direction, he was in school, he was like, hey, I don't have a whole bunch of money right now. I know you got your own house and this, that, and the other. He said, but if you allow me to, I will prove to you that I'm worthy. And that's what he told me. And I was like, what? I mean, I had never heard anybody say it like that. And, he was in his mid 30s. I was in my early 20s. But he was like, I just got out the military. I had to rebuild my life. He had some things that had happened in his life, which kind of knocked him down. But he was like, if you will allow me, I will show you that I'm worthy. And he
Nice.
proved just that. He went and did what he said he was going to do. He did it all the way up to the day he died. So he made good on what he said. Now, Here's a opposite side of that. Again, that's where discernment comes in, because you can't be stupid either. Just because a
Mm.
guy says that does not mean he's gonna follow through with it. Because he could just be saying it because he sees, like you said, that you're already positioned and you're already there, quote unquote, so to speak. And he's just telling you those things because he knows in the back of his mind that's what he wants. That's what you want to hear. So you have to be wise enough to know if this guy is running game on you or not. So there's a thin line with that one. Alice, do you want to share? Do you want to add anything, Alice?
I'm intaking some stuff, so trust me.
Hey, P Coffee.
It looks like
P
she back there
Coffee.
taking notes. I don't know.
Hey, P Coffee. P
It,
Coffee. Let me tell you on tonight, on behalf of your past husband, he's probably going to resurrect after you spoke his salary. Just so you know.
No, I said when we started the church. I didn't say when the church
He's gonna do like
ended.
this. Now wait a minute. Now wait a minute. You don't talk about salary, no.
No, I said, look,
No,
that
I'm
was in
teasing
the inception of the church, honey. I'm not gonna
Oh, okay.
I'm not gonna say what all he came through with.
No,
me.
no, no. I'm teasing.
Let's just put it this way. The
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first lady and the children were very pleased with the outcome. Amen.
All right. Well, good.
Amen.
Okay, good. All right.
oh,
All right.
You know you're wrong, Mr. Dixon. You know you're wrong. You know you're wrong.
Oh goodness.
But Alice,
All right.
I see something brewing in that face of yours over there, Alice. I want you to share with us on tonight what that face is suggesting, because that face is telling on you.
Yeah, don't be
what?
shy.
I'm not shy. I can only use myself as an example, as being a strong woman and doing things on my own. And it
Mhm.
was funny because when my husband and I, when we began to date, he came and asked me, can you ever be submissive? I'm like,
My Lord. My Lord.
really? Because I was used to doing things my way. I didn't
Yeah.
have any answer to. So, of course, relationships class,
Wow.
whatever, but some kind of way there has to be a common ground. So I was that person saying, I'm gonna do it like this right now. So
Mm.
I had to trust him. I had to get to know him more in order to go forward. So
Mm,
Mm.
mm.
I mean,
So,
there's definitely a respect that goes with it.
yeah, most definitely. So, Alice,
right.
what was the shift for you, since you just discussed that? What was the shift for you that caused you to say, you know what? Um, I do value what I have with this man, and I do want to follow where he's leading me. What was that shift for you?
Number one thing, trust.
Mm-hmm.
Being hurt, broken, broken place when someone meets you, it takes time. So that person to you, not to say that I'm like the other person or what that person did to you, but you
Mm-hmm.
have to, y'all both have to have patience. That's it, patience.
Mm-hmm.
So no
Very much
patience,
so.
no relationship. You broken and so the other person. So yeah, you gotta
Mm-hmm.
build something on it, and you both have to be able to get over it.
That's good. That's real good. It's some background noise, you guys. Somebody has some background noise going on. What
Go
happened?
ahead. Oh, that's Bruce. That was
Oh,
Bruce's
I think he
background.
bumped the wrong button. I think he meant to hit the mute button and actually got
Oh,
off.
okay. 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 That's good what you said, Alice. Trust is a huge factor in submission. If we can be honest as women to say, I trust this man enough to say that I'm willing to. It's almost like being a lamb.
Yeah.
You know, it's being that sheep to say, I don't know where you're taking me to, but I'm willing to follow you because I do believe that you're going to lead me in the right direction. And that takes trust. It definitely does take trust in order to be able to come to that crossroads and say, okay, I believe you're going to guide me in the right
Right.
direction. and I'm not
Because
afraid of. I'm not afraid of it.
right, because sometimes as women or as men, you get nervous.
Hmm.
Like, this is going too fast, or this is not what I expected. So you tend to
Hmm.
step back because
Hmm.
it's unexpected. So
Mm.
That's good. That's good. Mr. Dixon, looks like something is brewing in that brain of yours, sir.
I'm just listening to First Lady Alice. You know, I'm listening. But the thing is, here's the other part of it. It's like, I mean, to me, the only prerequisite I hear when I see the word as it pertains to this is, correct me if I'm not quoting it correctly, but it talks about, it speaks like basically how wives pretty much following your husband as he follows Christ. Correct? You
Right,
get I
right,
forget the
right,
yeah, as he
right.
follows Christ. He didn't say they didn't say follow him as you can trust him, follow him as he got a good job, follow him as he does this. So basically,
Mhm.
That's powerful.
there is a component of just no one might like this word, but there's a huge component of just obedience to the word. Period. It's just
hmm
obedience to the word. Period. It's a
Mhm.
mandate, right? It's a mandate to do this, and the blessing comes from the blessed woman that walks in it without any, without being insecure or feeling like she's less than. She's just saying, look, I'm being a woman of God. I'm being obedient
Mhm.
to my creator, basically.
Mhm.
You know, I'm just doing what I'm mandated to do by my husband. And I get it. The human side of us is like, screw all that. He don't do nothing to earn my respect.
My
And
lord, my lord.
and Alice, let me help you with this one though. Here's another true part. If us men are honest, and a lot of us we have those similar thoughts to what Bruce had said earlier, because
Uh huh.
some of us become, if we're honest, we are intimidated of women like you, Alice, that come to the table with capability and apt, because now it threatens who we are. If we're honest, she's like, oh, she can do this better than me. Wait a minute, and then it's just like, and don't let her make more than you. It's a wrap. Or have something, have and let there be a huge distinction between you guys economically or resource or talent. Then it becomes even more, or something
Hmm.
to deal with.
And it's funny that you say that because that's really funny that you say that.
I see Sister Carrie
Hey,
just turned in
hey,
the house.
CC, welcome,
We're gonna have
welcome,
to
How y'all doing?
let's
I'm
turn her. We're gonna have
exhausted
to.
as always.
Yeah.
Pastor
I
Dixon.
uh I caught the
We're gonna
tail
have to
end of
sit
that.
CC down,
Alice
okay?
said,
Pastor Dixon, I think we're gonna have to sit CC down this time. She didn't
Yeah, I
came to
was gonna
church
say we're
so
gonna bring
late.
in an offering and let the pastor talk to her.
"Everybody
Yeah,
studying."
you don't
I'm gonna
build
say
a
it's
ministry
so
choir
funny.
for 6 months. We sit up and get you back up.
Oh Lord, I ain't coming to your church. I ain't coming to your church. I love
But
y'all. I
Mr.
had a
Dixon,
fun.
back to what
But
we were talking about earlier.
yes,
I had to help my husband. I had to be there for him. I had to help him to say, hey, we had to have goals in place and have deadlines and targets. And I had to help him do his resume, help him with his skills for interviewing. I had to go online and find positions that I knew he was able to, that he had the qualifications for, and
right.
help him to get positioned quickly so our family could be in the
Mm,
place that we wanted our family in by a set time. And it's funny because
mm,
you're right, that did go with obedience, because a lot of times I couldn't tell him how I felt about the process. I had to keep that to myself
Right.
mm,
so that he never felt demasculated or disrespected or anything like that. And then when he got the six-figure something position, and then he got fired, not fired, but laid off,
mm,
and came to my office one day, and I'm sitting in my office, and he's like, hey, I got to talk to you. We got a family emergency. I'm like, what's up? He said, I got laid off. Now you can imagine we didn't we rose to the cream and the top of the coffee, and here it is, we get knocked down again.
mm.
So it's so many things that happen that we have to be aware of as women, that we do not demasculate our men because of our independent airs that we have, or our having been in authority, or like you said, Mr. Dixon, us coming to the table competent and capable. we cannot demasculate our men because of who we are as women. Submission is authority under subjection. We still are in authority, but we're under authority. So that has to be that era of saying, you know what? I'm going to honor my man because like Mr. Dixon said, I'm going to honor my man through honoring my creator.
Mm-hmm.
And walking in
How can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
How did you feel about that process? Now, you didn't let him know, if I'm hearing correctly, you didn't let him know because you were being obedient to the Holy Spirit. However, in your natural man, keeping it 100, Coffee, how did you feel concerning that process that you had to stop yourself from saying to him?
Honestly, I felt like I had made a bad choice initially. When I didn't see it happen as fast as I thought it was supposed to happen. I was thinking, oh, it's only going to take us 6 months to a year, and it ended up being 24 to 36 months, before we got to where we needed to be. And so internally, I just felt like I had made a bad choice, but I was like, I'm already married. I actually had to find women, older women, more mature in the faith to keep me on target. That's really what kept me grounded was, the older women teaching the younger woman to say, hey, sit down somewhere, sweetie. Let God be God. You be his wife, but you let God be God. And, I remember one of the older mothers telling me that. She said, a lot of times we as women, we try to put ourselves in the seat of God and say, okay, I need you to do this, that. But that's not our role or our position. So in order to keep me grounded and obedient, I had to look to older women to help me to stay where I was supposed to be at. It's like the word told you to do this. The word told you to do that. So that's what really kept me from actually spewing out or, saying something that I would never be able to get back after I said it out there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was challenging because initially when we first got together, he moved into my house. And I was already stable, had my own thing going, whatever, that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I remember one of the older ladies told me, she said, what? She said, when he told you to allow him time to show you, that didn't dictate what the time would be.
That's right.
So your timetable is not the creator's timetable. So when she told me to have several seats, I remember leaving there crying, boo-hoo crying. But she said have several seats. Go sit down somewhere. Because you're not in control of how God's timing is.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Can I add one more question to that?
Yes, Bruce. Matter of fact, go ahead and question Sister Cece for being late to the church tonight, Bruce.
I was making money. Be quiet. Have several seats. They keep telling you that God is speaking. But one of the things that you hit something, Coffee, the spirit of submission is very difficult for the average person under 40. Then when you get over 40, you've come into so much till you're in a comfort zone that a man shows up and he makes you uncomfortable. Because you're supposed to be. When the Bible tells us to submit, wives submit to your own husband, it doesn't say submit to his vision. It says submit to your husband. When you understand Christ being your husband as a single person and you know his role, don't emasculate the man by trying to make him be this picture perfect person that you ain't even ready for.
Right.
Because a lot of single women at all ages are prepared for this superhero to show up. But when he shows up as Clark Kent, they don't want to submit because they think that little ugly tie and that suit is not what I asked for, not knowing what's under there. And most women, and I love Dee Dee because Dee Dee submitted to what her husband has become.
Right.
We saw it.
Right.
And she was like, But the blessing is they have evolved together. Their family is stronger. She had a strong family before she got married. She has a stronger family now because now it's whole. Right. And they had a what do they call it? A merged family unit where there were children in the family on both sides before. But you merge that together as you submit. And wisdom causes you to study to be quiet. Like you were saying, it did take someone with some sense to tell you, baby, go sit down. Because a lot of women don't want to submit. I would rather see him evolve than to come into something that I'm not ready for.
Right.
Because some women, they want the six-figure job, they want the man who has all the money, all the cars, the house, and they want to put me in this, and then they want a 4-carat ring. So when the anniversary comes, what do you get after that? You got to have
Ooh,
somewhere to
good
go.
point.
You know,
Our
start the bar.
forefathers, yes, don't start with the bar so high that you have nowhere to go. My grandmother and grandfather were married 50 years before he died. She died thereafter from loneliness because she genuinely loved him.
Right.
It
Right.
had nothing to
Right.
do with his tangible goods, even though they owned several properties and had a lot of possessions through years and time. But the submission, he wasn't even saved. And that's why I said we
And
need to
see,
study the
that's
Bible
not
a
a
little more
prerequisite
deeper.
either. That ain't a prerequisite either. It says marriage is
Yeah.
honorable in all. It didn't say whether the man was
Yeah.
saved or not.
Yeah.
Didn't
Yes.
say
And
that.
when we submit to your own husband, it doesn't say
Right.
you're saved husband.
That's right.
And we want him saved. We want him loving God. We want him equally yoked. But if you
Absolutely.
study to find out what being equally yoked is, that means he like Crest, I like Crest.
Uh-huh.
Two-faced.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
You know, we want to go into the deep things of God from the
Right.
forefront when some of us
Right.
are very shallow in our studies and they
Right.
don't understand, we don't understand the concept of marriage goes so much deeper than your religious preference.
That's right. That's good.
So
That's
that's my
real
2
good.
cents. I redeemed myself after I got that check before I got on this line. Leave me alone.
Oh man. Bruce, go ahead with your question.
My question was, were you guys married when, I mean, not to blow your spot up, Coffee, or, but because we're helping people, kind of like using your life as an example. When you said when he moved in with you, were you guys married?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. So how can we relate that to, because I know these are, I'm perceiving these are people of God on this platform.
Oh, absolutely.
And the woman, the person I just heard, I perceive that thou art a prophet.
Stay in your lane and drive slow,
Okay.
Reverend. Stay in your lane and drive slow.
So the people on my page is Craig and Day Day.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Craig and
So
Day
for those who are not exposed to the word
Mm-hmm.
and the
Good
teaching,
points.
Mm-hmm.
Boo Boo and Charlie and Half a Head and them,
Right.
who's shacking up.
Half a
Right.
head.
I'm
You know,
mad.
little Ray Ray and them who's shacking up
Right.
and think that they're doing something. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Mhm.
How does what we just said apply to them? Being as though your topic is, do you submit while dating? How do we apply that to that, for that crowd?
Who do you want to answer that question? Because I got
Mr. Dixon. I want Mr. Dixon to
What?
touch on that one
Yeah.
for
Well,
me.
with this,
Come on,
I said this earlier, but if I said a little bit of this earlier, but I would say for those who interpret the spiritual side, let's keep it as submission. Those in the secular world, it's really notified as respect. It's
Mm-hmm.
just basically, do you respect your man? Respect. That's just pretty much. If you're talking to someone who doesn't have the spiritual concept, they're not looking at it as submission. They're acting accordingly because they respect him. That's pretty much it.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah,
And
good point.
That's for Boo Boo and Ray Ray. Bruce.
Yeah.
Boo Boo and Ray Ray.
Because I was question, but I think Mr. Bruce brought it up because I was going to ask: is there different levels of submission for a girlfriend, a fiance, or a wife?
Right. That's one of our questions.
Of course.
so many
Absolutely.
women want to be wives before they get the name change.
Mm-hmm.
But
They want to do
I
so
think if
much.
we're honest, I wouldn't expect a girlfriend to be like, oh yes, whatever you say, or all this kind of hocus
Who is
pocus
that?
stuff like this. But honestly, I would be remiss if I didn't say men, like I said earlier, men do want to be able to see a glimpse of, okay, if this thing goes left, is she, you may hear it tame, like Bruce say, Boo Boo and them may say, is she tameable? That's what they're gonna say. They're gonna say, is she
That's what
tameable?
they're gonna say.
And
Right.
and in other words, you want to know, does she have the personality that can be redirected, or this gonna be
Yeah.
an all out fight for the rest of the night and you ain't get no peace at all?
Mm-hmm.
And see, listen, let's break this one thing down. See, Sister Alice on tonight, she reminds me, it's hard to tackle with Alice because Alice, she knows just those questions to ask, but she asks it in a nice way. So her husband probably like, Jesus, I'm going to sleep. No, but no, she asked the right kind of questions in the perfect way. Because it's not,
It was,
a lot of times, it's not
and
what you say, it's how you say it
like,
to a man.
That's right.
No, I'm
trust
telling
me.
you, it's not what you say, it's how you say it to a man. And a lot of times that makes all the difference in the communication. It's just how the
Hmm.
banter is exchanged. And I think if women knew that the men respected the way that they respect them, they'll be more apt to respect him continually. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yes.
Right.
not somebody just lording over them and bossing you around, don't do this, that, and the other. You know, you're more apt to respect someone that respects your intellect, your spirit, your calling, your walk, all those things like that.
Right. Right. That's good. That's
But to
real good.
address her question about different levels, though, um, a lot of people put the carriage before the horse because they want to start out having sex, start out, I'm cooking all his meals, washing all his clothes. He comes
Yeah.
to my house, it's clean, the whole nine. And then when he decides he doesn't want to marry her, she gets broken.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that brokenness is because she has no sense of order from the inception of the relationship. I
Right.
think one of the lost arts among our culture is that people don't know how to date. They just don't know
Mm.
how to date. Because
Right.
there's
Right.
Absolutely.
dating, there are four phases. There's dating, courtship, engagement, and marriage. The shortest phase should be engagement. And that's only because that's planning a
Right.
wedding ceremony.
Right. Right.
The
Right.
Right.
dating phase is when you get to know them. I tell
Right.
people all the time, does he know your middle name?
Mm-hmm.
Before
Mm.
you go down the sex lane, before you go down the I did all your clothes and you ain't did nothing for me, you ain't done nothing for me argument, if they would. Um, what's his middle name? What's his favorite color? What's his favorite football team? And vice versa.
Right.
Because
Right.
getting to know a person is just dating. It has nothing to do with the intimacy of the emotions or the senses, like sexual senses. And
Absolutely.
when we encounter, because I have a lot of secular people who come to me for counseling, the first thing I ask them is, why do you want a pastor, bishop, preacher, whatever you want to call me today? Why do you want a preacher to do your wedding and you're not saved? Because we have the
Mm.
salvation conversation just to find out where they at. And if they tell
Right.
me, no, I ain't trying to be saved, I send them right down to the courthouse. There's no need for you to take vows under the sanctity of my anointing
Wow.
when you're not serving my God. If you
Right.
want to come
Wow.
over here, then I'm gonna show you, and we're gonna. And I tell them, if you shacking, that's cool. I don't demean them in counseling by saying, "Oh, y'all shacking." I don't even use that word.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Are
Mm.
you cohabitating? Are you sharing a place? You got a crib together. You got to get where they are. But in
Yeah.
those
All right.
phases, you minister to the person and find out, do you want to be saved? And then take them up that street. But if they don't want to be saved, he's smoking blunts, she popping, I almost said it was real
Yeah.
close.
Whatever.
My,
Yeah.
my,
If
Yeah.
my,
if
my,
she
my,
doing
my,
different, but you'll find that, stop it. You'll find that some of the secular people have a more loyal and respectful relationship than some of the saved
Absolutely.
Oh,
because
Yeah.
absolutely.
Christian women think they know everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then they try
Right.
to pawn that off on the brothers. I'm like, you ain't been to church in 12 weeks. Well, that's irrelevant. What is his relationship with the Lord
Right.
to a
Right.
point that you would want to be with him in the first place? Because the problem really ain't him, it's you.
Right. Right.
Mm.
Hmm.
It's good that you brought up the phases of the relationship guide as far as the phases, because Mr. Dixon has said it several times on his show about the fact finding. The fact finding doesn't
Mm-hmm.
has nothing
Mm-hmm.
to do with anything but finding facts. Period.
Yeah.
There's no
Mm-hmm.
exchange of anything. Nobody's giving, nobody's taking. It's just all
Yeah.
fact finding. And that's where the frailty comes in because, like you said, there's a cart before the horse concept where people are engaging in certain activities that there hasn't been an air of responsibility or accountability for them to even have access to. So they're moving
Mm.
way too fast. And then when they crash, like you said, they find their hearts broken behind something that they shouldn't have been doing in the first place
Right.
Mm.
that was supposed to be
And it's not even
preserved
a
for a
judgment
later
call.
date. That was
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's
supposed to
not
be
even a
preserved for a
judgment
later
call.
date.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, you guys, you know what? It is 9 o'clock, and as Pastor Dixon always says, we can't be running
Oh.
over. We can't be running over because people want to keep saying something. Because I still feel led to
Well,
say something else,
We didn't
but
I
start.
know you do. I
We
know you
didn't.
do.
We didn't start on time. Now you got to give the people their
we
10 minutes
we
worth.
we
We
really
started
didn't.
late. We
all
had some
right,
late
all
things
right, all
tonight.
right. So,
Because
yes, sir. Look, look.
Pastor
Yes, sir.
Carrie
Yes,
came on,
sir.
we got to give her her due benevolence. Now, come on.
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Thank you. Thank you,
All right.
Dr. Charles. Somebody love me a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
No. No.
But you know, Mr. Dixon, if you could elaborate on that idea behind I think it was three concepts when you were talking about just the dating phase inside of
Oh,
the
I said dating should. I was talking about. I thought about how we go about how we have so much dysfunction in our dating because, Pastor said, we're dating incorrectly, and
Mhm.
I said that dating should be comprised of discovering value,
Mhm.
fact finding, and what's the other one? Something about commonality, exploring
Mhm.
commonality.
Right.
And those are the things that you should be concerning yourself with in dating. Now, of course, if you're talking about taking it to a sexual side, if that's what you subscribe to, that's something that should come post commitment, not
Yes.
just,
Not
hey, I saw you
pre-committed.
tonight. I want to go out with you. You look really good. Come on over here. You understand? Because if that happens, I'm not saying that some relationships don't recover from that. I won't say that
Yeah.
some of them don't recover from the quick trigger, but in most cases, when you get lost, you end up dating in reverse. And you end
Yes.
up you're mad. You're
Mhm.
asking person questions, and you're like, well, you don't know this. You didn't know that. Well, I guess you won't. But 30 minutes ago, he was over there. So you don't know all these things, and so you find yourself behind the gun, and that's a hard position to come back from when you're behind the
Right.
gun. So,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so you guys, so we got time for one question. This is a good one, and anybody can chime in on this one. What are some signs of submission? What are some signs without a person actually saying it, but what are some indications that submission is intact in the relationship?
Silence.
that I was going to say that.
Silence.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah,
That's good.
Silence.
That's good.
A highly
yeah.
opinionated, and I'm talking about female to male, a highly opinionated female for a male is a sign of zero submission.
Right.
Yeah. And zero respect.
If
Yeah.
yes, zero respect.
Yeah.
If he said, I'll give you an example. If he says, I'm going to take out the trash and it takes 2 days, so what? So what? When you start the nagging, why you didn't take the trash? I thought you said you were going to take the trash out. You said you're going to take the trash out. Where's the silence? Just be quiet. Study to be quiet. When I tell you, I teach that often because so many times people have an opinion that can lead to an argument or even discomfort or emasculating of a man's character. When you get to that place when, like Alice, I love Dee Dee because through the years I've known her 16 years. In 16
Mm,
years, I've watched her learn how to say it.
mm.
There would be a time you better get in here and do something. But now,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She said,
the way she said now, all of us can take the
all,
trash out.
all of us guilty. All of us
All of
guilty.
us
We
can take
all
the
have
trash out.
changed. We've been around each other for years. We all have.
Yes, years.
We've been
And
around each
that's
other
the
for
blessing
years.
in silence. It's
Yes.
silence.
We
The
all have
sign is
super
silence.
changed. We all have
wow,
all
balance.
these
Yeah.
women on this platform. We've been knowing each other at least a decade, and we all have
Yeah.
really matured as women, following God, and and leading others, and being a compass for young women. Now we have changed and become we're so different than when we first started this journey.
So I have
Definitely.
one more
Listen, I
quick
ain't
question.
usually toe up on the
One more.
public platform either. Y'all owe me.
Yeah. Hey, I want one more quick question for the ladies. Can
Yes, sir.
y'all help us? Can y'all help us, men? Because we don't always get it right. We may think we know it, but we can't always read what's in your mind and your heart. So for those that are on the panel and listening, if there are men listening in the crowd, what are some things that makes it easier for you guys to transition the respect slash submission over to us? What can we do to make life easier for you guys?
Submit to God.
Live
Submit to
by
God.
your words.
Hmm.
Live by what you say. Always
Mhm.
be a
Okay.
man of your word. It's easy to follow a man if he is a man of his word. Whatever comes out of his mouth, he manifests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
Okay.
make promises you can't keep.
Not
Don't
do
make
that.
empty
You will
promises.
get,
Yeah.
And
you'll
you got
get
to
whatever
watch
you
out
want.
now, because what may come out of his mouth, he's gonna say, "Now look, I'm married to you, but I'm not no faithful man." I'm just gonna let you know that right now. He's giving you his word, but he's letting you know where he stands. But
You
I'm
know
just saying,
what?
that's
Can I,
He'll be a
Charles,
thumb.
too bad.
Charles,
You got to
there are
take
people
TP,
that.
watching. Don't
TP,
act like that.
can he get in the timeout corner? Anybody got a timeout corner?
Where's the bell or the buzzer or something
Where
around here?
is the buzzer? Okay.
But one of the other things too is a woman who is saved, who sees a
Yeah,
man submitting to God, the things of
yeah.
God, the worship experience. For me, somebody asked me last week, what was I looking for in a mate? Because I'm single. I told him, I said, if I
Mm,
can see him worship, I've seen all I need to see. And I say that because a man who submits to the authority and the kingship of Christ will hear God, listen to God, and follow God, and it's easy for me to follow him. Now, don't get it twisted and or bent. Both of y'all know me. I'm not a deep person when it comes down to my relationships. I'm funny. I'm silly. I'm a practical joker, and so are my kids. But someone who will go to work, if I can see him lift his hands or get into a posture of praise or intercession, and see, in our house, we have family meetings. Every Monday, Sunday or Monday, we have a family meeting. So if he comes and participates in that family meeting, where you going? I'm going too. That's the rule.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I'm
Absolutely.
watching him lead. Leading has nothing to do with the tangible, it's spiritual.
Right. Absolutely. Wow. And then watching a man, watching how he cares for others. Is he a nurturer?
Yeah.
That's an important thing that a lot of women, I think, don't necessarily pay attention to, because we look at so much masculine. We want him to be robust and this, that, and the other. But is he a nurturer? If something were to happen and I say, "Oh, honey, I just feel really bad." "Oh, babe, you need me to take this? What you want me to do? Do I need to go call somebody? Do I need to go get this?" Just
now
showing
that's a
those.
feminine response.
Well,
A
that's
masculine approach would be to embrace without words. A man,
Well, what
before
I'm
he
saying
starts
is,
to talk, will get
it.
into the
That's it.
come in, get in your get. They will hug you before they talk to you.
Yeah,
They'll rub your
we have a
feet.
different. We have a different.
I think
You're
it
right.
depends. I think it depends on the man, though, because in my experience, I've had men who have asked me when I initiated the conversation and said, "I feel, like this, that, or the other." They'll say, "Hey, babe, what do you need me to do? Do I need
Yeah,
to do this?
and
Do
you
you want me to
initiated the
do that?"
conversation. Yes, you told them.
Yeah,
But see,
yeah,
this is.
yeah.
But let me
Oh,
help you
absolutely.
though. This is what I think a lot of women have to understand about just what you just said. You have some men, if he's committed to deception, right? He has learned how to address your every need. It doesn't
Come on,
mean he's
brother.
a good man. He's just good
Come
at
on,
what he
bro.
does. So this is why
Right,
you have
right.
to step out of all of this, do this me stuff, because a lot of this a lot of these accommodations are about the quest for validation. Has nothing to
Yeah,
do with him caring
has
about
nothing
you
to do with
being
you.
well
Right.
or sick, because
Come on.
his language may be different. Like you said, his language is different. It may not be, you know what, I'm going to send this over here, I'm going to go to the store, buy you $100 worth of groceries. He may not do
All that
all that
talking, I'll
stuff.
be
Is
like, what's
Right,
wrong with you?
it
right,
means
right,
yeah, it means,
right,
because I can do all those things and turn
right.
around and be like, look, in fact, I'm gonna be even more truthful. I have done all those things and say, "You good, baby? You sure you got all this?" Bye, and went right on over there. So it don't mean nothing. You understand what I'm saying? It has to be sincere from the heart.
That's
So
why
it
I
don't mean nothing.
said. That's why I said before several times. You have to have discernment to know
Yes,
if this man is
yes.
Yeah.
of God or not, because that's what it all boils down to. You got
Can
to
I
have your
add to that?
own walk.
Go
You
ahead,
got to
Bree.
have your own walk with your Creator to be able to know who it is you're dealing with, and the Spirit, because it says, "Try the Spirit by the Spirit to be able to see if they be of
No,
God
it
in the
says,
first place,
there you go. It says,
to see
try
if
the
they be of
spirit to
God."
see whether it
Right,
be of God.
right, in the
hmm
first place.
And
And
that
guess what,
those
Bruce? Hold
who
on, Bruce.
are wise.
And also you got to look at the relationship you're having, because just because we can
Yeah.
That's
say
true.
that, if your
That's true.
relationship isn't producing hearing from God and you having sex, you ain't gonna hear nothing. So you got to
That's
look
true.
at what you're involved in. We
That's
say
true.
these things, but how is your relationship scripted and set up to receive all that? If you're not
That's
doing
true.
all that, you're not going to get it. Go ahead, Bruce.
That's true.
To piggyback on what Charles said, um, see, one of the challenges that we have as believers is that we approach things from idealism and not always
Correct.
realism,
Correct.
realistically.
hmm
Um,
Right.
we have to understand that men inside the house, inside the church, and outside the church function with similar mentalities.
Yeah.
We are a people. I'm talking about people who look like us.
Mm-hmm.
We suffer from rejection. And as you are discerning what type of man, I want to say this to the sisters, Coffee, if I may.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Women, when you are dealing with men, especially nowadays, I mean, we're in the days of Noah right now. I won't go too deep, but we're in the days of Noah. When you're dealing with men, you gotta check to see during the dating phase when you're collecting data, collecting data. Find out, observe, and discern if the brother has a mark on his forehead. See, a lot of us are, I'm explaining what I mean. A lot of us men, especially black men, we're walking around rejected. We have unresolved issues.
Right.
And one of the ways we work out our rejection issues is through sexuality, to get affirmation, like Charles just said. When Cain killed Abel and God rejected his offering and put that mark on his head, he was wandering. He was a vagabond. He was wandering. He was going from place to place with that mark on his head. The sisters got to see, is this brother that I'm dating, is he a mark? Is he a buster? That's how they say it in the hood. Is he a mark buster?
That's how they say it.
Right.
Right.
Is he a vagabond? Is he a wanderer? Is he a wanderer? Is he rejected?
That's good.
Right.
It's one thing to be in the house of God, and it's another thing to be in God dealing with your issues.
That's right.
That's good.
Because the men that you guys are dating, he can have an affinity or an affection for the things of God, but in his psyche still be rejected. That makes sense.
That's good.
You gotta find out if that is where that brother's thinking is. And you find out three things.
That's right.
And as he is wandering, if he's not a vagabond, if he's not had the mark of Cain on his forehead, hey brother, what are you doing? What do you have? We're not talking about materialism, but we are talking about materialism. Brother, what do you have? And how do you maintain what you have? And where are you going?
Where are you going? That's the thing.
That's the basics.
No, brother, I'm not a gold digger, but I want to know what you got going on in your life, my man.
Yeah.
Do you have a life? Are you sustaining your life? Where are you going? What are you doing?
Absolutely.
Before you start baking cookies.
My Lord. My Lord.
And like the woman of God said, we do things perverted. We do things in reverse. You start baking cookies before you find out that he's king. And that he's wandering, he's a vagabond searching for affirmation. And then by the time that soul tie is created, you done gave him all the cookies, you done baked all kind of cookies, the soul tie is created, then you find out that the brother can't produce anything. When you date that guy, you find out he does not have that mark on his forehead, that he is productive, that yes, he is following his God, of course. But him following God should make him be able to produce. And if you produce in something, brother, then that woman will submit.
Right.
That's good. That's good.
It's going to be easy for her to submit. But if we are not producing anything, by nature, she is going to rebel. She's going to buck authority the whole 9 yards by nature. Does that man have a mark in his forehead? That's what I wanted to add to what Charles was saying.
Right, nice stuff.
My goodness. Well, Dixon, is it okay to close down now? I mean,
it's okay. I think Bruce added the benediction.
You took the words out of my mouth, Charles. That was the benediction.
Oh, benediction. Let the church
Where's
say
the
amen.
offering? Where the offering
Amen.
Unless the prelate Carrie has something to say. Is all minds clear?
No. I won't elaborate only because of one thing. I know it would take us into another 20 minutes, and I want to be faithful to the call. And we'll do it again. Just hit me up and tell me when I'm supposed to get on. But I definitely, this has been good because of the fact that, again, I think one of our biggest problems as women with submission is being out of order.
Right.
And because the culture that we live in now has so graphically shoved us out of order, and the feminist movement. Somebody asked me if I was liberal. I said, no, I'm not. I just know. And the thing is, I'm not independent. I'm self-sufficient. That's a broad difference.
Right. Big difference.
Wow.
Big difference.
Broad.
Wow. That's good.
Because a self-sufficient person can sustain what has been, the vision that has been written.
Right. Their responsibility.
And not exactly. And share the responsibility, but hold him accountable in the spirit of love so that he'll want to go do. A lot of times women expect stuff, but they don't know how to push.
That's right.
You know, when we go in the labor room, they tell you bear down and push.
That's right.
But as a woman, can you make a man give birth to something?
That's right. That's right. That's good stuff.
That's where it's
Alice,
all
did you,
proven right there.
First Lady Alice, did you wanna say something, First Lady?
I'm
She
in
messy.
I'm in awe too. This is good. This is really good. Jason, is there anything you want to share before we shut down?
Jason been quiet tonight. You owe me,
Real
Jay.
quiet.
I know. Well, I was talking earlier, and it got deeper and
I
deeper,
caught
and I
it. I
found
was
myself
watching. I
more
just
and
couldn't
more
say
intrigued.
nothing.
And as vocal as I can be, I always felt that to be a good leader, you also have to be able to listen.
Okay.
Oh,
And a
awesome.
lot of the points that were brought up in this conference were very detailed, very important, and definitely need to be heard.
Right.
And I did not want to add my rhetoric into it because I wanted to put myself in a position to learn myself. So no,
Oh,
I want to just thank everybody for allowing me to be a part of this. And Miss Cox, I was definitely a lot more vocal earlier, but like I said,
yeah.
as
I'm
we
sorry,
continue to
bro.
get
I'm
deeper and
sorry.
deeper,
Listen, I couldn't say
and
that.
as we
The
had the
people was in my
women
office.
actually participate more and more, because I know Miss Brown originally set this up for the men to do a lot of the talking, but it's always good to actually
Good to do.
have or to
Yeah.
hear both sides of the
Right.
story.
Oh
Because
yeah.
Right.
we can sit
Right.
here and say this is how you submit, but if we don't listen to our ladies say that, hey, I
Right.
would I would love to submit to you if you show me
Right.
this.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? This
Right.
this
Yeah.
is how I feel that you should, or what you should possibly be doing to help me submit to you. So it's good to hear both sides of it. And when the lady started talking, I decided I was gonna shut up.
All right
Nice.
now.
So
Watch out now.
Such a
Watch out
wise
now.
man.
Really?
That's
The
nice.
Such a
balance of power.
wise
The
man.
balance of
That's nice.
power.
everything
I think
is, and that was one of the things I said earlier, that one of my definitions was being able to compromise. And
absolutely.
so yeah, like I said, I compromised my voice and I listened.
This was
Awesome,
a
man.
great. It was a great balance of power, you guys. This was a great balance of
Absolutely.
power. Incredible input, incredible insight. The shares were so transparent. I think people would really be able to benefit from the
Mhm.
information that was shared, and some light was shed on the dark components of what we thought
Right.
the mission to be, to where it seemed like it was such a negative thing. I think there's been
Right.
some light shed to where people can say, oh,
Mhm.
the mission is not bad after all. Okay, all right, I understand. I got a better understanding of it. So this was an incredible panel, you guys. We definitely will have you guys back at various points on other topics. We appreciate your time, your talent, your gifting. And Alice, please tell my brother thank you for letting us borrow you. Tell him thank you so much for letting us
He's
borrow you.
studying. He's studying. He's
Tell Pastor,
okay.
thank you so much, Pastor, for letting us borrow you on
Oh,
tonight.
listen.
Bruce,
And
we
thank you,
appreciate
Coffee.
you.
You were
Jason,
awesome.
we appreciate you. Cece, we appreciate you, coming out after you can send us your 10%, but waiting on you to get here.
I ain't gonna say what I wanted to say. Never mind.
Don't say it. Look, Cece, call me afterwards. Call me afterwards.
Yes.
Sound like he's about to bless you.
Look, we'll talk about it in the deaconess meeting.
Yes.
But I appreciate you
I
guys
love
so
y'all
much
so
coming
much.
on tonight. We appreciate
Love
you,
you so much.
everybody being here. Mr. Dixon, thank you so much for your
Mhm.
continuation and helping us to really get this thing off and moving full throttle. We really appreciate your time with all that you're doing, to really, really help us to really get where we want to go as far as launching this project on the hot seat. Family, friends, everybody, I wish you guys an incredible balance of the week. And truly,
Yes.
truly, truly, if anybody has anything that they want to add or any topics that you guys have in your mind that you feel like we need to be sharing, hit me up, hit Mr. Dixon up. Let us know if there's something on your heart that you want to talk about. Maybe a sticky topic, because I've got some inboxes for some real hard stuff that I'm really praying about how to share it in a very respectful way, because some things are very challenging to share on any platform. Y'all know how that goes. So some things
Right.
are very, very sensitive. But thank you guys so much for being here
All right.
tonight. Mr. Dixon, is there anything you'd like to say as we shut it down?
No, I just want to say I appreciate everybody lending their time and wisdom, and as always, I welcome it and thank God for it.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. With that being said, you guys, will see you next week, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. But before that, Monday night, Unique Perspective Love Talk Radio, 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. Out of
Mhm.
Chicago, Mr. Charles Dixon. So
All
until then,
right.
you guys be blessed. Have an incredible rest of the week, and we'll see you on the other side. Thank y'all.
Amen.
All
Good
righty.
Love
night.
you.
Thank you so
All
much.
Have a
right.
good night.
Y'all.
All right,
Good day.
everybody.
Bless you. Bye
Take
bye
care.
now.